So first of all, I would like to just mention that this challenge was inspired by Jack Edwards' video. He read 100 books back in 2019 and he made a video about it. I'll link it somewhere. And I watched the video. I then turned around and looked at my bookshelf filled with unread books that I bought since year 8 or so, and I was like, right, I need to do something about that. So back in 2020, I read 50 books in total throughout the entire year, and I will now talk about that. Fascinating, isn't it? However, I knew that I would have never been able to finish 100 books within a year because I would not have that much time to do so. So I started light with 50. Yeah. So a little bit about myself, since I'm sure most of you do not know who I am. My name is Ploidy, and I am currently a first-year medical student at Chulalongkorn University. I got into uni at the beginning of last year, aka January 2020, which meant that I practically had free time until uni started, which it started in August of 2020, so I had like 7 months to do nothing. And with the pandemic rolling around, which meant I had more free time than I anticipated, so hence I spent most of my time in quarantine reading. Thus, I was able to complete the challenge. So this video is made to, 1, share my top 10 favorites from the 50 books that I've read in 2020, and 2, to share my advice and some tips on how you can read more. I've also asked 3 of my friends to give their tips, their advice on how they manage to read a lot. So yeah, I will be including that in as well. The reason why I won't be mentioning all of my 50 books, because that would be too much, and I'm sure all of you would be bored by the time I finish the entire list. So if you're interested in the other books that I've read, if you want to check those out, you can go to my Goodreads. Link in the description. Alright, so top 10 books from 2020 that I have read. Number 10, we have The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman. I would like to mention that I do not normally read fantasy, but the story was quite intriguing, to say the least. I guess I liked how the author told the story throughout. It was quite engaging. And yeah, if you're a fan of fantasy, maybe check this out, I suppose. I remember crying, or I was close to crying at one point in the book. So yeah, a bit of emotion in the play. That makes no sense. Number 9, we have Educated by Tara Westover. So basically, this one's a memoir about how the author was raised in a survivalist family and what she had to endure in order to receive a proper education. And yeah, I think this was definitely interesting to read. Like, I remember reading it and going, wow, I really didn't know families like this existed. So yeah, it was very insightful. Number 8, we have Don't Make a Sound by David Jackson. Yeah, this one was a thriller. It was very thrilling. It was very exciting. It was definitely a page turner. I spent all day binge reading this because of how captivating it was, how exciting it was, and like I really wanted to find out what happened in the end. Yeah, it was definitely thrilling. If you're a fan of thriller, I definitely recommend this. Yeah, it was very gripping and twisting, and like I didn't really expect the ending to turn out the way it did. So yeah, if you're a fan of twists and a fan of thriller, this one's for you. Right, number 7, we have City of Strangers by Louise Miller. Yeah, this was another thriller / mystery that kept me engaged throughout, and the reveal at the end was not too sudden, but it was definitely worth it all. Number 6, we have Norwegian Wood by Murakami. Let me just mention that Murakami is one of my favorite authors of all time. I really love the way he tells the story. I really love how he builds the tension in his thriller / mystery novels, but this one was like coming of age / romance. To be honest, I've put off Norwegian Wood for a bit, but like I finally got round to reading it during quarantine, and let me just say that I have no regrets. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of romance, but this one was very emotional. It moved me quite a lot, so yeah, definitely check this one out. Number 5 is Library of Souls. I'll probably put a picture somewhere here because I cannot find the physical copy of the book that I own. I probably misplaced it somewhere. I don't know where, but yeah, it's somewhere in my house. I just can't find it. You've probably heard of the Miss Peregrine series. It was made into a movie. Library of Souls is the 3rd book of the series, and it was, again, a huge page-turner that I ended up binge reading during quarantine. It took me only a few days to complete because, oh my god, it was so gripping and exciting. So yeah. Number 4, we have Perfume, the story of a murderer by Patrick Süskind. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's German. I don't know. I don't speak German. To be honest, this one was a tiny bit boring in the beginning, in my opinion, at least. It was so twisty and entertaining throughout, and I just liked how Süskind told the story and developed it. And the ending really messes with my head. Yeah, I definitely recommend this if you want something witty or new to read. Check this out. Right, the 3rd book we have Hollow City. Again, from the Miss Peregrine series. This one's the 2nd book of the series, however, and I feel like I prefer this one to the 3rd. Nevertheless, check both of them out. If you enjoy reading thriller, I definitely recommend you this series. And like the accompanied photographs in the book, like these ones. Wait, no, this is not a good example. Like there are pictures like these in the book, which some may find disturbing, but for me, I felt like it really helped in making the story more engaging and interesting. You're more able to imagine what's going on in the book throughout with those, and it's chilling in a way, but very intriguing. Yeah, so if the opportunity presents itself, do check the series out. Number 2 on the top 10 list, we have The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. This one made me really nostalgic and emotional throughout, especially towards the end. Not even just towards the end, just the entire story, the way it's told, the plot itself, really emotional, really moved me, this one. It was definitely interesting to read about the main character's friendship with his servant's son, who was also his best friend, and how that changed during the rise and fall of the Taliban. So yeah, this one's a great one. Overall, just another amazing book that I cannot recommend enough. And finally, we have the number 1 book I've read last year, The Miracles of the Namiya General Store by Keiko Higashino. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. This was definitely the best book I've read, probably ever. One of the best. Yeah, it's one of the best books I've ever read. It's one of the only books that have made me cry at the end. I remember like reading this until 1 a.m. and just sobbing quietly in my room. It's just amazing how every little story in the book like was linked to each other in the end, and that link was revealed slowly throughout the novel. But yeah, like every time something amazing happens, you just go, at least that was my experience with it. So yeah, I cannot recommend this enough. Please check it out. Moving on to the next part of the video, which is how I managed to read 50 books and how you can read more as well. Let me just mention that I am not the fastest reader in the world. I am not a fast reader at all. I just go with the flow most of the time, and if the book is engaging to me, then I will spend all day reading it. No matter the circumstances, I would take the book out with me wherever I go just to read it when I have the chance to, because I just enjoy it. Yeah, the time it took to finish each book varied depending on how into it I was, how immersed I was. For instance, the top 10 that I mentioned earlier, I spent an average of about 3 to 5 days completing each book. Some books that weren't even in my top 10 list, I spent like only a day finishing it, simply because they were easy to read. But I didn't find them particularly interesting or special in any way. Other books took me weeks or months to finish simply because I just found it boring and I kept putting it off. I kept procrastinating on it. I just found reasons to go do other things instead of finishing said books. Here are some tips based on my experience, at least. Firstly, don't feel forced to finish a book that you don't enjoy. If you don't want to continue reading it, then just start a new book or just go do something else. Otherwise, it would just be a waste of time, and you would always find reasons to not continue reading the book. And secondly, when I read, I most of the time just skim through the book itself. I don't really spend too much time on each word or phrase. This doesn't mean that I just practically glide across each page. That would be ridiculous. But yeah, I just skim enough to pick up the relevant information that is trying to be portrayed in each page / paragraph / whatever. I just don't spend too much time on each paragraph itself, or else, you know, my eyes would hurt and it would just be a waste of time, in my opinion. And when I read, I do not sound out each word in my head. I know some people have the tendency to do that, but I try my best to not do so. Instead, I just basically look at each word and go. Look at it enough just to, like I said, be able to pick up the relevant points that is trying to be made. If that makes any sense. I have also asked 3 of my friends, that is 6, why did I do that? 3 of my friends for their advice on how they manage to read a lot as well. So this is from Natasha. She said, find books that you actually enjoy and remember that you are not obligated to finish a book, as I've mentioned earlier. Yeah, if you're not into it, just read something else. Also, be in the right mood to read, like find a cozy and clean atmosphere, a good atmosphere. If you're not feeling it, then change the environment, like go read outside or by a tree or something, she said. Yeah. Also, she feels like the more you read, the easier reading becomes. That is very true. Next is from Taylor, who said she doesn't focus on her goal. Like if she knows she wants to read 50, she tries not to think about it, and she instead just enjoys the process, because some people end up becoming really anxious about whether or not they will reach the goal, and that anxiety means that they end up putting off reading. So she tends to read in the morning with a clear head whilst drinking her favorite morning drink when she's at it. Read somewhere relaxing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be your home. Go to a park or a museum if you like background noises. And bring a book with you everywhere. When things get awkward or you don't want to use your phone so often, whip out the book. That's also what I do. I just take the book that I'm currently reading everywhere I go in case I have the chance to just continue reading the book. Yeah. It's like an alternative to going on my phone. I'm way too addicted to my phone. Also, don't feel like you need to read a certain number of books. Yes, if you want to set a goal, fine, do that, but don't stress yourself out just to reach said goal. Make it flexible and don't pressure yourself. And also change the genre from time to time. Cleanse your taste buds. You never know what kind of books might get you hooked. Read at least 30 minutes before bed. Only works with physical copies, so it's easier to fall asleep. Yes, actually, I do that as well when I'm trying to go to sleep, but I can't, and I end up like being wide awake at night. I would just like bring the book out and just read it until I feel like falling asleep. And don't buy lots of books at the same time, because it can be overwhelming. Like you're reading one book, but this other book is really interesting and it eats you up inside how slow you're reading the first book. Wow, the way that's phrased. But yeah, that's true. Just when you're going shopping, for example, at a bookstore, don't feel like you should buy every single book that you find interesting. Just buy the ones that you know you're gonna read right away, or else you'll end up putting it off, like what I did in the past. And lastly, my friend wants to remain anonymous. Basically, this person always carries a book with her, just like all of us, no matter where she goes, so that when she's bored, she reaches for it instead of her phone. And also, if you want to read more, but you do not know what books to read or which ones are interesting / fits your taste the most, join literary groups she joins it on Reddit, but there are also groups on Facebook and pages on Instagram, hashtags on Instagram, Facebook, etc. that you can follow, because reading how other people enjoyed classics and stuff inspired her. So yeah, you can also do the same if you know that would help you. So yeah, that's basically the entire video. To be honest, I don't think I will set a goal like last year this year, because uni is becoming way more chaotic than I have anticipated in the first place, and I don't think I'll have time to read as much as I did last year. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.